Stood at the podium in the community center, my voice is steady as I read from the official document in my hands, Notice of Violation Case number 4729, Karen Michelis, president of the Willowbrook Estates HOA. You are hereby $10,000 for multiple breaches of municipal code sections 12.5.7 and 22.9. The room fell into complete silence. You could have heard a pin drop upon the polished floor. Karen's face went from its usual smudge expression to pure shock, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. Gasping for air, just a week earlier, she had stood in this very same spot, gleefully announcing that she was finding me $2,000 for fishing in what she claimed was a protected pond. It all started when I moved into Willowbrook Estates 3 months ago. Their realtor had shown me the beautiful lakeside community with its winding paths, manicured lawns, and most importantly, the Zerna Pond at the heart of the neighborhood. As someone who found peace in fishing at seeing it seemed like paradise, the morning mist rising off the water, the gentle splash of base breaking. Key surface, it was everything I had dreamed of when leaving the chaos of downtown. Behind, I had barely unpacked my boxes when I grabbed my fishing rod and headed down to the pond for some early morning relaxation. That first cast into the water felt like coming home. The sun was just beginning to peek through the trees, painting golden streaks across the rippling surface. Caught and released 3 beautiful largemouth bass that morning, each one fighting with a vigor that made fishing such a joy. Other residents walked by with their dogs, some waving, others stopping to chat about the best spots around the pond. It felt like I had found my place in this community. Little did I know that my peaceful morning ritual had already caught the attention of someone who would make my life considerably more complicated. The letter arrived exactly 1 week after I moved in. Official HOA letterhead, thick cream-colored paper that felt expensive between my fingers. Mrs. Thompson, it began in typed precision. This letter serves as official notice of violation of Willowbrook Estates HOA Covenant Section 47B, subsection 3. Fishin'. Jintha Community Pond dis strictly prohibited as per the Protected Waterway Act established by this board. You have been assessed a fine of $2,000 payable within 30 days. Failure to comply will result in additional penalties and possible legal action. At the bottom, in bold blue ink that seemed to scream authority, was Karen Mitchell's signature. Along with her title, President, Willowbrook Estates HOA, read the letter, 3 times certain I was missing something $2,000 for fishing. The amount was absurd, but more concerning was his Protected Waterway Act I had never heard of. Immediately pulled out my closing documents, searching through the HOA bylaws and covenants I had received. There was no mention of fishing restrictions anywhere. The pond was listed as a community amenity open to all residents for recreational uses. Something didn't add up, and I decided it was time to meet this Karen Mitchell face to face. Her house is at the corner of Maple and Oak, a colonial style home with perfectly trimmed hedges that looked like they had been measured with a ruler. The lawn was so green it almost to look attendant. Not a single leaf dared to merit surface. I rang the doorbell at exactly 10 in the morning, hoping to catch her at a sunnable hour. She answered within seconds, as if she had been waiting behind the door care. Erin Mitchell was exactly what I had pictured, a woman in her mid-50s with highlighted blonde hair pulled back in a severe bun, wearing an event, though it was Saturday here. Here, Yez narrowed the moment she saw me. Mean before I could even introduce myself. She spoke with it one that dripped condescension. Mar Thompson, I presume I've been exp. Most violators show up within 24 hours of receiving their notice, thinking they can talk their way out of consequences. Let me save you some time. The finest dance the pond is under my. I meant the HOA's exclusive oversight in fishing disrupts the delicate ecosystem we've worked so hard to maintain. If you have a problem with that, you can take it up with the board at TOR monthly meeting now. If you'll excuse me, I have important HOA business to attend. As she started to close the door, but I wedged my foot in the gap, maintaining my calm despite her dismissive attitude. Actually, Miss Mitchell, I've reviewed all the HOA documents and there's no mention of fishing restrictions. The pond is listed on the county's public easement records, which means it's not technically under HOA control. He'd be happy to show you the documentation if you'd like to discuss this reasonably. Her face turned an interesting shade of reed, and she yanked the door open, wider, stepping out on her porch like a general preparing for battle. Public easement, let me tell you something about public easements. Miss Thompson, you've been president of this HOA for 8 ye. RS8Y years, know every inch of this community, every rule, every covenant, and every resident who thinks they're too special to follow them. That pond has been under HOA protection since it took office, and if you don't like it, you can move. Pulled out my phone, bringing up the county records. I had screenshot earlier, according to these documents from the county recorder's office. The pond and a 15-foot perimeter around our deter designated as public access easement established in 1997 when the development was built. The HOA can maintain the area, buts. Anotristrictal activities like fishing Ike, my voice level professional, even as her face contorted with rage, has snatched the phone from my hands, squinting at the screen before shoving it back at me with enough force to make me step backward. Those records are outdated. The HOA board voted to assume full control 3 years ago. Have the minutes from that meeting in my files, besides 7 if what you're saying is true, which it isn't. I can still find you for disturbing the peace, creating a nuisance, or any number of other violations. Is C-fits, that's the beauty of B. Ein Presidenti, interpret the rules, and right now, I'm interpreting that you owe $2,000, pay it or I'll make it 4,000. She spun on her heel and marched back inside, slamming the door with enough force to rattle the decorative wreath hanging on it, walking back to my house. I passed several neighbors working in their yards. When I made eye contact, they quickly looked away, busying themselves with already perfect flower beds. It wasn't until I reached the end of the street that someone finally approached me, an elderly man, Med George, who lived 3 houses down, glanced around nervously before speaking in a hushed tone. You're the new guy who got fined for fishing. Aren't you? Word travels fast around here. Listen, son, Karen's been pulling stunts like this for years. She fined the Johnsons $500 for having their trash cans visible from the street for 10 minutes after pickup. uh, Patel family got hit with $1,000 fine for their daughter's chalk drawings on their own driveway. We've all just learned to pay up and stay quiet. It's easier than fighting her, but none of that sound slag. Alice said with genuine confusion, surely someone has challenged these fines before. George shook his heads. Adley, you don't understand. Karen has connections. Her brother-in-law is a lawyer who sends threatening letters. If anyone pushes back, she's got the board wrapped around her finger because she handpicked them all, and she keeps meticulous records of every tinny infraction across her sea. And suddenly you're getting fined for grass that's a quarter-inch tootle or a mailbox. That's the wrong shade of black trust. Me just pay the fishing fine and keep your head down. But keeping my head down had never been my style that evening. As I tapped my computer and began researching, first I dove deep into the municipal codes governing HOA authorities in our county. Then I studied the state laws regarding easements and public access. The more I read, the more convinced I became that Karen was operating far outside her legal authority. But it wasn't until I started searching through online forums and local news archives that it struck gold. Buried in a 3-year-old discussion thread was a mention of Karen Mitchell being investigated for my Susie of HOA funds. At their previous community, the investigation had been dropped, but the timing lined up perfectly with when she became president at Willowbrook Estates. Is spent the next 3 days building my case like I was preparing for trial. I filed formal requests with the county for all records regarding HOA and the pond easement. He reached out to former board members through social media, and several agreed to speak with me off the record. What they told me painted a picture of a woman who had systematically consolidated power, pushed out anyone who questioned. Ned Herandused HOA funds for everything from personal landscaping to vacation trips disguised as HOA conferences. But the smoking gun came when I obtained copies of the actual HOA meeting minutes through a public records request. The meeting where Karen claimed the board voted to take control of the pond. It never happened. The minutes for that date held a routine discussion of lawn maintenance and nothing more. Armed with evidence, I decided to take a calculated risk. It printed out all my findings, organized them into a comprehensive folder, and mailed copies to every house in the neighborhood. But I didn't stop there. He also filed formal complaints with the City Code Enforcement Office, the County Commissioner's Office, and the State Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division. The complaint detailed not just my fishing fine, but a pattern of illegal fines, misappropriation of funds, and abuse of power dating back years. Included receipts, meeting minutes, bank statements that residents had shared with me, and a timeline that showed how Karen had systematically violated both HOA bylaws and state law. Their response: EWAS faster than expected. Within 2 days, I received a call from the city's code enforcement director. They were opening a formal investigation into the HOA's practices. The county commissioner's offices scheduled an emergency review of the easement status, but the real fireworks started when Karen found out about the complaint. She showed up at my door at 7 in the morning, pounding so hard it thought she might break it down. When I opened it, she was practically vibrating with rage, her face purple and her hands clenched into fists. You think your cull ever don't? You, she's gnarled with such venom, I could practically feel it, filing complaints, spreading lies, turning the neighborhood against me. You've worked too hard to let some newcomer destroy everything I've built. You want to wear, you've got my, I'm calling an emergency board meeting tonight, and we're going to fine you for everything. Your grass is too long, your Karis parked, your mailbox is dirty by the time I'm done. You'll owe this HOA $1,000. I remained calm, pulling out my phone to record the interaction. Miss Mitchell R. You threatening test. Oishu retaliatory fines because if filed legitimate